I was listening to one of your YouTube videos, and you were talking about consulting on the movie Aladdin, and how you had brought forward the idea of having the monkey as the companion of Aladdin, and then also
the carpet,
the flying carpet, right? The flying carpet, and also the parrot that's the companion of Jafar. And to me, I didn't get to go back and do a whole plot out of the outline or like the timeline of animal companions in Disney, but I was fascinated by that because I was like, wow, when I think of Disney films, like one of the first things I always think about is some kind of animal companion like that the main character has. Maybe Aladdin was one of the major first, incarnations of that. It surprised me that Disney didn't immediately think, like at the time, I would have thought Disney, animal companion. But it surprised me that at that time they were making Aladdin, they didn't immediately think, oh, well, we've got to have some kind of cute animal companion for that, which I think often fulfills the role of Doug's fragile power in the Heroine's Labyrinth. So do you want to talk about the development of those kinds of characters, Chris? I thought that was fascinating.
Yes, I would say, first of all, that I don't claim to be the only originator of those elements, or in any case, I worked on The Lion King and I contributed, I think, some important visuals and moments in a string of films around that time. But the truth is that somewhere between 300 and 600 people made those movies. And out of that group, there's a boiling soup of ideas all the time. And probably if I said something or wrote it into a memo, there were probably 3 or 4 other people who had the same idea. And the reason that it got in and landed and stuck in the script, like the flying carpet and the monkey, was maybe because 3 or 4 people are saying this is a good idea, and drawing pictures of it and advancing it. But I was thinking, almost every input I made into those pictures was referenced by something. It resonated off of something. In Lion King, there were things from my Catholic background and the way the church was laid out, and the stained glass window and the blessing of the baby with in the baptism, holy oil and things like that. All that got into the structure of Lion King, and with the animal companions and these animated things like a carpet that it becomes a living thing. I was referencing there the classical gods and goddesses of Greece, who often have an animal companion, and the animal is there to amplify the qualities of that character. For example, Athena she has a bunch of symbols. She has a spear and a helmet and a shield, the Aegis, and the breastplate. But she is often accompanied by an owl. And there are many different qualities assigned to Athena, but wisdom is one of the primary ones. And so owls are associated with wisdom, and thus the association in art, it would first of all help you identify a statue as, oh, that's Athena because there's an owl on her shoulder. Many of the gods and goddesses look similar. So these attributes, they're called, help to specify that character. And then there would be stories woven about those. And a lot of that is lost, unfortunately, but we can use our active imagination to get some of it back. And I'm interested in that. I'm interested in how people retell the myths and use the poetic imagination just like they did in the old days. And let's find out the story about that owl. How did Athena come to get it, and what does it mean to her? So that's where I was coming from with those elements. And in the development of those stories for Disney, they would start with the basic fairy tale, which is usually very short, maybe 2 or 3 pages long. It doesn't have a lot of character in it. It doesn't have a lot of scenes or development. It's very kind of primal and chunky. So they had to start pulling things apart and adding dimensions and so forth. And this was part of that process of almost once it was basically formed, then how can we add a layer to give comedy and reactions. Those animal helpers and the magical things like Doctor Strange's cape is like that. It's animated and has a mind of its own and its own agenda. But for sure, those things give another dimension and give the hero something to interact with and comment, just like a normal human sidekick does. They observe, they comment, they ridicule, they encourage, they warn, and same thing with those animals. So it helps amplify the character.
That's awesome. And I love those characters in Aladdin, by the way.
Yeah, that landed very well.
Yeah.
Went through some development of that and trying different things, but how it ended up was really nice.